No, we've had discussions about it, but I mean, the thing that I think happened last year when Franco came up in September, I mean, he basically showed us that he wasn't ready to play in the major leagues. And, he went and played winter ball and did everything he normally does, came into spring training, didn't really perform very well in spring training, quite frankly. And, we had, pretty much decided that Cody was going to be our third baseman until we felt that Maikel Franco was ready to take over. And, Cody had got off to a little bit of a slow start last year defensively and played much better the second half of the year defensively. But Maikel's a superior defender at third base. He's a much better defender than Cody is. And we wanted to make sure that, Maikel was ready offensively, which he showed he wasn't last September, before we, contemplated, bringing him up. And, with Cody's situation, we wanted to send him out, to actually play left field, before we expose him to it at the major league level. I mean, we didn't want to muddy the waters with him in spring training too much. I mean, I think he did take some fly balls, power shagged out there a little bit. I mean, I think it had been discussed with him, just as a possibility. But, when we decided to go down this road, we decided the best thing for Cody was to, get some time playing in left field in a situation that wasn't, quite as, in the spotlight, so to speak, as, just walking out there for the first time at the major league level. So he's already played 2 games down in AAA. They played last night, and then they played again this morning and this afternoon. And he's already been out there for a couple of games, and, quite frankly, watched both of them, and there were a couple of plays where, it showed he's got some things he needs to work on out there before he's a major league left fielder. So he's a good athlete. We're confident that he'll be able to do it.
Yeah, obviously, a lot of guys have made the transition from infield to outfield, and maybe they're not the greatest outfielders, but they can handle themselves. And there's no doubt he's an athlete. But do you guys view his bat as a major league left fielder? I mean, is that a question for you guys, whether he can produce like a corner outfielder?
Well, I think that's yet to be seen. I mean, we have people in the organization that that believe Cody's going to be a fine offensive major league player, but he still has to go out and do that. He has not done it. He didn't do it as a third baseman. I think he was hitting 230 when we sent him out. He struck out 100 times in 400 plate appearances last year. So he's still got some things to prove as an offensive player in the major leagues, regardless of where he plays. So, but we think with Maikel, and as does Maikel. I mean, he's, like I said, last year when he came up here, he did not perform very well offensively. To his credit, his defense was very good. But I mean, these guys, this isn't a you plug them in and instantaneously they're going to hit 300 and hit 30 home runs. I had a scout that used to tell us all the time when we were talking about kids in the draft, Mike. They get to the major leagues. He could tell us who he thought was going to get to the major leagues, but he said he could never tell you what they're going to be when they get there. And this is a former major league player. He said that they'll seek their own level when they get there. So the onus is on the player a lot of times to prove, to continue to improve, to prove what they're capable of, once they get to the major leagues, not be complacent about and not be just happy about getting to the major leagues. They need to get there and continue to work, continue to improve, and take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them.
No doubt about it. Phillies assistant general manager Scott Proefrock is with us. Cody Asche down. Franco is up. And, what was it about Cody, that got him this opportunity? You would see a kid who was, 23 or 24 years old when he came up here, and I guess he wasn't thought of to be this, big-time prospect. What was it about him that got him this opportunity at such a young age, whereas Franco, you guys didn't want to kind of rush him up, and obviously he's going to be up soon, but there's similar age ranges. What was it about Asche that let him get up here maybe sooner than maybe you would have hoped?
I don't think he got here sooner than we would have hoped. I mean, he progressed through the minor leagues, had success, and obviously we had a need for a third baseman at the major league level. And he was ahead of Maikel, and from a development standpoint. I think the thing that stands out about Cody is his work ethic. and how he goes about his business. He's a professional, and we know that no matter what we ask him to do, he'll give it 100% and do whatever he can to make it be successful.
All right, how about Franco? What is it about him that excites you guys and excites a lot of people about him in the game of baseball? What is the expectations and hopes for him down there? Maybe not immediately. I'm sure there'll be some bumps in the road. But what are the hopes of what kind of player you think he could be?
Well, we certainly. I mean, defensively, he's a superior defender. That has not been a concern. From the time he's burst onto the scene, so to speak. His offense, is still a concern. He's going to have to make adjustments. But hopefully, he can be our third baseman here for years to come, and that's the hope. We think he has that kind of potential, to be a middle of the order bat. But again, he still has to go out and do it.
So far, where has he grown from last year to now? I mean, obviously, he got off to a little bit of a slow start in the minors last year, so his numbers didn't jump off the page, and obviously now they are. What has he improved on that makes you guys feel like now's a good time for him?
Well, I think the thing that has been most impressive so far is just what you said. I mean, he was a notorious slow starter, and don't know whether it's the cold weather or whatever the case may be, but that has not been a factor so far. I think he's hitting 330 or 340. So he's gotten off to a great start. He's been consistent. He's had we've had people up there looking at him. He's had consistently good at bats. He's made some adjustments at the plate. We're pretty confident that when he gets here, he'll be here to stay, and that's what we hope for all these guys. I mean, Mike, we're in a situation where there's no reason to rush anybody in this situation. Let them be as prepared as they can possibly be at the minor league level, get as many reps as at bats, work on the things they need to work on, so that when they get here, they're prepared to succeed when they get to the major leagues.
Scott Proefrock's with us, everybody. Phillies assistant general manager. The Phillies continuing their 4-game set with the Pirates. And how about let's look at some of the young guys and get, it's only about a month and a half in, but some of the guys, Odubel Herrera. Has he been a guy that's exceeded expectations? Are you happy with where he is?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's a Rule 5 guy. Our scouts did a great job of identifying him, and, we got him from an organization that has a lot of talent in the minor leagues, and they had a lot of injuries last year that some guys they probably would have liked to protect, they couldn't. And he's done a fine job. He's learning to play the outfield at the major league level. He's had a taste of it in winter ball, and that's George Vlandia, our special assistant for the minor leagues, is the guy that really turned us on to Odubel during the off season, and so. He's done a very good job for us. He's going to scuffle because he's coming from Double-A. It's not an easy transition, but he's a talent that we felt like was worth taking a risk on. Again, in our situation, and giving him an opportunity to play and develop at the major league level.
Scott, obviously, he's playing center field right now. Is that ultimately where you project him? He's 23 years old. He's just learning how to play the outfield. Is that where you guys look at him? I mean, I know he bats left, and then you have Asche who hits left, and if Dominic Brown is in your future, he hits left. I mean, is Herrera a center fielder? Is that where you like him in the grand scheme of things?
I think so. I think he can also play the infield. He's played the infield in the past, so. Right now, in our situation, the best opportunity for him to get playing time is in the outfield. So, but he has some versatility, and and again, he's young enough that depending on what happens this year and how he continues to progress, he's a guy that if we need him to go back to the minor leagues and prepare for another position or work on another position or work on anything after we satisfy the requirements of the Rule 5 draft. Mm-hmm. We'll have that flexibility with him.
What is your thoughts, and where are you guys with Dom Brown? I know he's down in the minors right now. I don't know what you guys feel about his progression and where he is, but he's in a kind of a interesting situation. What is the organization's take on where he is this year?
Well, I think the reason Dom's down there is twofold. One, he was slowed in spring training, didn't get a lot of at bats in the spring, and we wanted him to catch up in a situation where he could, not only get the bats, to prepare him for the major leagues, but also to make some adjustments in his swing. Charlie Manuel has been down there working with him as well. And Dominic also needed, he's transitioning back to right field. He needed to work on his defense, and he's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start on his rehab. And we decided that we needed to keep him down there. There's nothing wrong with him health-wise at this point. So it was just the best thing we thought to do was to option him and let him continue to get at bats, let him continue to work on his defense. And he's had a great attitude. He's working hard. He's having better at bats, and at some point when we feel like he's all the way where he needs to be, I'm sure we'll have him back in the major leagues.
What is Freddie Galvis is a guy who in the last couple of years has really struggled offensively, but we always thought he'd be a great defensive player. Is this more of him getting the opportunity to be playing every day, or has he made some adjustments that you guys are really happy with? Because he's obviously hitting .327, which is way above, I guess, anybody's expectations.
Right. I mean, Freddie never been a question about his defense, and he can play literally anywhere on the field. He has great instincts for the game of baseball, and especially on the defensive side. He hadn't had issues of trying to do too much at the plate. We've talked to him about it. Our hitting people have worked with him, and we did some things with him in the spring. We gave him a heavier bat and told him to try to hit the ball, on a line up the middle, use the whole field, and he's finally, because these are things we've talked to him about in the past as well, but some of the adjustments we made this spring, he's taken to, and I think the opportunity to be in the lineup every day has probably, let him relax a little bit more at the plate, and know that he's going to be out there every day and not try to do too much, which was the cause of some of his problems in the past offensively.
If you look at, we're talking with Scott Proefrock, the Phillies assistant general manager here on 97.3 ESPN, and if you look at some of the other surprises for you in this young season, I know a lot of the stuff always gets centered around the trade talks and your veteran players, but are there other things that you guys are happy with where they are at this moment, or would you have liked to seen some of your guys a little bit further along, maybe some of the bullpen guys?
Again, bullpens always, just in general, I think have the variability from year to year performance-wise. I mean, those guys did a great job for us last year. Kenny Giles' velocity is down a little bit, but he's still being effective. Pap, I know he's had some issues with, the fans and whatnot, but he has performed over to the extent of his contract. He's going to be our all-time saves leader here in the not too distant future, and he's done a great job, and he's been a great mentor for those guys out there. Diekman and DeFreitas have, Jake's had some struggles with his command. We're confident he'll get those, under control, no pun intended, going forward. His velocity is still there. Justin DeFreitas, again, has had some ups and downs. He's thrown the ball better of late. I think it's just one of those things where, they've got to get, in a rhythm, get comfortable. I think the bullpen is still an area of strength for us. Luis Garcia, without including last night's outing, has thrown the ball very well for us and established himself in an important role in the bullpen as well. So I mean, we have some good arms out there, and we still feel that's a strength of the club.
Scott, obviously, Utley's not getting off to the greatest of starts in the world here. I mean, there is some concern that maybe he's getting close to the end here? I know he's got those 3 vesting options coming up that I guess are looming anyway. What is your guys taking? You taking a look at Utley, but down the road, what is your take on him?
Well, I mein, again, he's obviously having some struggles. In his defense, he's hit some balls hard. They've been right at people. Again, going back to the same thing we talked about with Dominic Brown, I mean, people forget, while Chase hit the ball well in spring training, he had a limited number of at-bats. He did not even play a full 9-inning game during the spring. So, I think he might have had 30 at-bats during the spring, which, is generally, we like to get him 70 to 90 at-bats in the spring to get him ready for the season. So he started a little bit behind, even though he swung the bat very well in the spring. But once the season starts, it's a whole different ball game. So I think he started off behind. We're confident that he'll, bounce back and come closer to, what our expectations are of him. But, Father Time catches up with everybody at some point, Mike, as you know, and that's one of the reasons why Cesar Hernandez is on the club. Hopefully, we can give Chase some days off to rest and keep his legs fresh and that sort of thing. And we hope he's a contributing factor for us. As we move forward this year.
Yeah, I know that he basically has kind of said he wanted to be here and he has a no trade clause. Do you get the feeling that as this team is not performing well, that he might, has he indicated at all that he might change that feeling?
You'd have to ask Ruben or Chase about that. I have not had any conversations with him with regards to that. I don't know whether Ruben has. But obviously he's been an important part of the success that we've had here, and he has the rights that he's earned under the basic agreement to basically control his destiny. So.
Sure. Well, then, obviously, I'm sure you guys get asked about Cole a lot, and here we are into mid-May now. And has anything changed with Cole? Are people calling still? Are you guys changing your stance on Cole at all?
I think there's still a lot of interest, and we're going to do what's best for the organization. We're not in a situation where we have to trade him. We're gonna, if we do, we want to make sure we get the best deal possible and for the organization, and then it's the right thing to do for the organization. I mean, again, there's circumstances and situations where, again, because of the market we're in and the ownership that we have and the revenues that we have, that it's not necessarily a situation where this rebuild or retooling or whatever you want to call it has to take 4, 5, 6 years. We have the resources that if we decide that it's the right thing to do to go out into the free agent market, and acquire players via that route, that this thing can't be speeded up. That's not my decision. That's made at ownership level, but so there's a scenario where it may not. If we decide we want to keep Cole, that there are other ways that we can turn this thing around in a more untraditional, I guess, manner than the traditional rebuild process. So.
Yeah, and obviously, when you enter the season, you had some veterans on this team, and when you talk about a retool or a rebuild, a lot of teams shed those veterans. You guys have been unable to do that for contract reasons or whatever it may be, but are guys in the minors progressing faster than maybe you anticipated that make you feel like this could be a quicker rebuild, that you would go out and add a piece or two, maybe not now, but in free agency or something down the road?
Yeah, Mike, I mean, I think it's too early to make that determination. I mean, the players that we have, we have the bulk of our prospects outside of, Franco are at AA and below. And, it's too early in the season to tell you whether they're going to be ready to make the jump to the major leagues, sooner rather than later. So I think the jury's still out on that. And, again, we're not in a situation where we have, no one's got a gun to our head saying that we have to trade, Cole or this or whatever else. We're going to try to make if we do move any of these guys, we're going to try to make as good a baseball trade as we can. It's not a matter of dumping payroll or anything like that. We're going to try to make as good a baseball trade as we can. Do we know that in some cases we may have to, to eat some money to make, to get but we understand that. But we're willing to do that if it helps us get better prospects in return. So.
All right, last one for you, Scott. Obviously, Howard, he was struggling. Now he's coming around a little bit as of late. Were you hoping for more from Howard after, he looked like a couple of years after the injuries, he dropped a lot of weight. He had the thing with the family last year. Were you hoping that he would have shown more, or are you seeing that happening?
I know he got off to a really slow start. He's hit some home runs of late. I think he's had, better swings. He has not been striking out as frequently as he did early in the year. He's making contact. Again, I think, we're still hopeful that, he can, be a productive, bat in the middle of the order for us. And if that attracts the attention of another club, so be it. If you stop and think about it, he's really the only legitimate home run threat that we have, Mike. I mean, he did drive in 95 runs for us last year and hit, 23 or whatever home runs it was that he hit. And we didn't have anybody, come close to that. I mean, Marlon Byrd obviously did, but we've obviously moved on from him. So other than that, there's really not anybody else that, can generate that kind of offense or that kind of, dangerous. We don't have that kind of dangerous hitter anywhere else in our lineup. So, he does serve a purpose, while he is here. If he gets hot and there's another team that has interest in it, I'm sure, like any of the veteran players, we'll consider moving them if it's something that we can make a good baseball trade.
All right, Phillies assistant GM Scott Proefrock here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Phillies and the Pirates continue their 4-game set. Cole Hamels goes tonight. Francisco Liriano for the Buccos. And obviously, tough times. The Phillies lose 11 out of 14, and worst start for the team. But hopefully good things coming, as you mentioned, Double-A. And we'll see Franco hopefully Friday night and give the fans a glimpse of the future. But, Scott, always a pleasure, and thanks for giving us a buzz.
No problem, Mike. Just be patient with us. We'll get it done.